Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, Executive Producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network. Call 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating, empowering, interactive conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Gathering of the Griots with Asada. Wednesdays, Repairing Family Relationships with Naima and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Veggie Brunch Live with Angela. Fridays, Health and Well-Being with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Global Talks with Zana. Second Saturday, Walk in Your Divine Authority with Mama Joy. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. Fourth Saturday, be a judge on the virtual Teens, Tweens, and Tots Talent Contest. And fifth Saturday, join us on location as we conversate at the Elevate Cafe, owner Jackie Brooks. Sundays, join us 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Go to thefemalesolution.com to join us on our video or audio live streaming platforms. Listen at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in on the Blog Talk Radio Network 515-605-9325 or call in and comment on the on-air radio network 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you.
I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms. And welcome to the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and I'll be joined with our co-host Kareem Hamid in just a moment. And we want to hear from you because today your opinion matters. You are a voter. You are someone who's going to be making a decision about who is to be the leader of this nation. Your questions matter. Well, today we're looking forward to an interesting conversation with one of the presidential hopefuls. This week, the National Association of Black Journalists is kicking off its national convention, and today, the Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, will be talking to the National Association of Black Journalists at a 12 o'clock luncheon, and we're looking forward to hearing what he has to say. But now we want to hear what you have to say. And what do you think some of the questions should be that the journalists should ask the Republican nominee for president? What are some issues that need to be talked about? Are we going to be able as a nation to mend this rift, which is so pronounced between the races of people, the ethnicities of people, the nationalities of people, the religions of people, all this division? Is this a candidate that can bring unity? We'll talk about it. We'll be back after this break, and we'll be joined by our host, our co-host, Kareem Hamid, and we're looking forward to you giving us your view. We have a chance to have a voice, and it's our responsibility to make our voices heard. So we'll be right back after this quick break, so stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment, so stay with us. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money. The Female Solution Global Radio TV show invites you to an invigorating, empowering, interactive conversation with our team of hosts, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Gathering of the Griots with Asada. Wednesdays, Repairing Family Relationships with Naima and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Veggie Brunch Live with Angela. Fridays, Health and Well-Being with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Global Talks with Zana. Second Saturday, Walk in Your Divine Authority with Mama Joy. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. Fourth Saturday, be a judge on the virtual Teens, Tweens, and Tots Talent Contest. And fifth Saturday, join us on location as we conversate at the Elevate Cafe, owner Jackie Brooks. Sundays, join us 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Go to thefemalesolution.com to join us on our video or audio live streaming platforms. Listen at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in on the Blog Talk Radio Network 515-605-9325 or call in and comment on the On Air Radio Network 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you.
Yes, we do want to hear from you, because this is an opportunity for us to make our voices heard by one who, whether we like it or not, may be the next president of the United States. Now, of course, whatever your opinion is, it really comes down to, in a democracy, the voice of the majority. And this is what happens each election. We get to hear the candidates make their case. And then those who are willing to take responsibility for what happens in their lives will go to the polls and vote. Now, you have those who may choose to complain and still not vote, which is a travesty because so many people have risked their lives and lost their lives trying to obtain that right. So I'm going to ask my co-host to move a little closer to the camera. And while he's doing that, I want to bring on the screen a little bit of information. You know, we had an opportunity, if you missed the show, we want you to go back and see it. We had an opportunity to have the president of the National Association of Black Journalists Chicago chapter on the show this Monday. And he was very instrumental in giving us a view of what is going to transpire at this national convention of Black journalists. Well, they've invited all of the candidates, both of the candidates, the presumptive nominee, Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, has been invited to speak, as well as Donald Trump, who did, in fact, confirm that he will come and address the National Association of Black Journalists. And we're grateful that he's giving the opportunity for this auspicious organization to get their questions heard and to ask and hear what he has to say. As many of us love to think that one candidate or another is either a demon or an angel, we really have to look at the fact that these are just human beings. And so we're going to bring on our co-host, Kareem Hamid, and we want you to call in 515-605-9325 or 727-731-5192. We're on the On Air Radio Network. We're on the Blog Talk Radio Network. And we're on our Facebook and YouTube channels with The Female Solution. And we have been sharing this link so that we have many of our viewers and listeners hear ready to express their thoughts. And I want to welcome to our show our co-host Kareem Hamid. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Naima. Praise be to Allah. I'm grateful to be here this morning.
Yes.
And begin with Allah's name, with the name of Almighty God, Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer.
Yes,
I'm grateful to join you here this Wednesday morning on a very intriguing topic.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing what the former president has to say, especially because there's so much fear surrounding the possibility that former President Donald Trump may get reelected. But the reality is there is a large contingent of people who support his views. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten elected the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And for us in this nation, it's always been a life and death proposition as to who is heading this nation, because our presence here has always been precarious.
Yes.
So it's more than just politics. It literally is a lot of people's feeling that this is a life and death struggle. If someone gets into office that has the opinion that our rights don't need to be protected, then we could see a lot of us being hurt and abused. And we've been through that. And so, as a journalist, which you are, you're hosts of, this show and also shows on AM 360. What is one question you would like to pose to former President Donald Trump today?
Just one. Okay.
Oh, well, we'll start with one, but there are many. The first one, maybe.
What is the main standard that he applies to his life, and as a foundation for his life? What standard does he chosen as a foundation for his life and his actions and all that he does? I would like to ask him that.
Now that's interesting. I guess kind of like, what philosophy does he live by? And interesting thing, when there was what appeared to be an assassination attempt, and it appeared that he was grazed in the ear by a would-be assassin's bullet. He said God was with him. Sounded like a person who believes in a higher power and acknowledges it. But what does that mean, I guess, in terms of how you treat people, how you treat the least of these, as it's said in the biblical scripture? What you feel your responsibility is as a man of wealth to ensure that others also have access to wealth. So I think that's a good question. What is the foundation of his belief system? And we invite you all to call in 515-605-9325 or 727-731-5192 in case you can't get through on that line. You're also on the on-air radio network. And I'm going to check the switchboard to see if we've got callers, because we're looking at having our reporters present to also participate in this discussion. And our on-air news team is all anxious to hear what the former president has to say to the National Association of Black Journalists. And obviously he's been saying some things that some very prominent people believe shows he does have a heart and does have principles and does have values that are congruent with overcoming some of the inequities in society. That's what some people believe. We're going to pull up. We observed Pastor Corey Brooks, and we'll be looking to have him on the show at some point in time because he's doing some amazing things. And he was invited to give the closing prayer at the Republican National Convention. And you know, when there is a prayer, you never think prayer would be political, but it is, because having a Black pastor, activist Black pastor, pray at your convention, that is a statement. And we've got a question posed by a journalist who would like to know. Ooh, this is a good one. Cheryl Charles says, with the murder of Sonia Massey, how do you justify calling for police immunity? Ooh, that's a good one. And that's one of the journalists who will be at the NABJ convention this week, along with some journalism students from Emerson College. And they're looking to hear the former president say something about cases like this. So thank you, Cheryl. Yes, with the murder of Sonia Massey, how do you justify calling for police immunity? That's a very good question. Hope you get a chance to ask it today at today's luncheon. And I want you all to type in your questions. What do you think the former president should address as he speaks to the National Association of Black Journalists today? And what are some statements that he's made in the past that you think maybe need some clarification? Because there are some things that I don't think a public figure should say, even though they might have their own private views. But looking back on his presidency, and again, we invite you to call in 515-605-9325 or 727-731-5192. Numbers on the screen there. And we want to hear from you because we're going to look forward to being able to pose a question that comes from our audience today. You know, it's going to be a crowd event here in downtown Chicago at the Hilton, where the National Association of Black Journalists is holding its convention. But can you tell me, you know, we had 4 years of Donald Trump. What was something that he did that affected you either negatively or positively as president that would influence what you think about him perhaps returning to office? What's a memory that you have?
Well, the most negative thing that I can remember is separating children from their parents at the border. Separating children from their parents, their mothers and their fathers, in a strange land at the border. That was very reprehensible for me, and not just me, others also. That cuts at the core of your values, your moral values, to separate children from their parents in a strange new environment. That was so heartless to me. You know, that to me, that was the epochs of negative things that he has done. To me, that stands out the most.
Well, you know, I think that hit me kind of hard too, because people kept talking about, well, it's not fair that people who came to this country legally and had to fill out all the paperwork and do all the right things should have had to do that. And then you have these illegals who are sneaking across the border, and then they think they should be able to stay just because they have children here. You know, I mean, I heard that argument, and I heard people being vehement about sending people back. But what happens when your child is left someplace and you're sent away? Does your child end up in foster care? And how do you make sure your child is not being abused, as a lot of foster children are? How do you make sure your child is not traumatized, which of course they're going to be because you've torn them away? And I was not aware until the conversation came up with one of our guests on one of our shows of how frightened and fearful and terrified many of these children are from places overseas where their parents might not be legal immigrants, and they're afraid that they're going to be snatched away from their parents and their parents are going to be deported. They fear that every day, going to school thinking something's going to happen where they're going to come home, their parents are gone, and you got police they're waiting for them to haul them to the police station until they can get put into the system. I mean, this is traumatizing what's happening to children. It's not their fault that the politics of the adults is so messy that we can't have an organized effort to help people who need to flee some dire situations sometimes. So I think that's a good question also. And we invite you all to call in, of course. We want to hear what you would ask the former president who is going to be addressing the National Association of Black Journalists today, and as they kick off their convention in downtown Chicago. One of the things I appreciate about the Black Journalists Organization is the fact that many people are working in these newsrooms that used to be kind of exclusive and therefore had the standard white European ancestry. Some of them may have come from even those European countries that were participating in the slave holding and selling business. And so the underlying contempt in many people is still there, even though they don't realize it. So when someone Black comes to work in an environment like that, and they would point out a point of view, it seems so foreign to journalists who just accept whatever is the standard belief system, like Cheryl's saying about the murder of Sonia Massey. When police are repressive, whites look at it like they're just protecting us from potential danger. Blacks look at it like, why are they using such excessive force on some person who's obviously no threat to them? Why are we being killed in the name of law and order? Because we've been killed in the name of law and order all through slavery. So our perspective is different. And when a Black person has to stand up and express that point of view, sometimes they get attacked, they're reprimanded, they get suppressed, and they have to really be strong to represent that point of view in those newsrooms where maybe no one ever thought to question the authority of police.
Right.
So,
when we look at the origin of law enforcement in this country, it was formed by militia groups that lived in slave-holding areas. And their main responsibility was to protect the land holding, those that owned land, the wealthy, the upper crust, and to make sure that the slaves did not escape from off of the plantation. They were called paddy rollers.
ooh,
Paddy rollers.
which really kind of meant like a patrollers.
Yes, right.
What that
Right.
meant. Yes.
And that type of mentality has not left the thinking of those that orchestrate and shape law enforcement to keep them in their areas, keep things under wraps, do not let them disturb us, make sure that they stay in their area.
Mm-hmm.
And if we tell the truth, the majority of these major cities are separated by race.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's by design. That's not just a happenstance. So, and I really look forward to hearing his answers to some of the questions that will be asked of him. Like referring to all immigrants as drug pushers and murderers and rapists. You know, the people that are taking that arduous journey across inhospitable terrain, and they bring their children with them. We have to ask ourselves, what is the condition that they are fleeing from to take such risk?
Absolutely. There has to be something happening in their countries. And we know that many of the Venezuelan migrants who've come here, they're fleeing a lot of violence based
El
on
Salvador too.
El Salvador. We've got places where the drug trafficking has created such a major gang culture, killings, and we've got it happening here.
Yes.
And drugs
are us point fingers.
Yes, how are we pointing
at another country?
Absolutely. And the drug business, it's an international business. So you got to look at where the financing is coming from, where the drug sales are pointed to, often our inner cities, and also where the weapons manufacturing is coming from, because using weapons is a large part of that business. Enforcing your territory and everything else. Who's responsible for the weapons manufacturing and sales? Where's that coming from? That's coming from America. So this nation, the business people in this nation are instigating a lot of the turmoil abroad. And what happens is it spills over when people are trying to leave this turmoil. So for us to castigate them as if they're the criminals, we got to look at where did it start?
When we look at our involvement in Central and South America, you see us meddling, orchestrating the assassination of leaders.
Yes.
Denying ownership of the resources. Matter of fact, Nicaragua comes to my mind. No, pardon me. Well, yes, they are in a dire strait, but the area of Panama. Panama. From what I heard, they bombed Panama almost into the Stone Age.
Absolutely.
And why?
We've got some callers on the line. We're going to take one call before we take a break. And we invite you to call in 515-605-9325 or 727-731-5192 because we want to hear from you. Let's take this caller before we take a break. Area code 319-457. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your question or comment you'd like to make about Donald Trump appearing today at the NABJ conference. What are your thoughts?
This is a Kufi. I would love to answer the question on why so many South American people are coming here. Actually, I went and talked to them directly. You know what they told me?
What did they say?
That you would never have. Nobody would never ever tell you this. It's that they were forced out their country. They said they had drones coming in their neighborhood saying, leave your home and get on the bus.
Wow. Really? You're right. That's not a story we heard. You're right.
Get on the bus. Now. They heard the loud noise. They had to leave. Come on, they didn't walk in the ocean, in the water, lake for 50 miles with children. No. They said they can't go back because they will kill them. they let all of the Brittany Rand, the prison, mental ward, they got rid of all their problems and sent them to Texas.
Wow. You know, that's easy to. I appreciate that story because you know what, they've done that before. I mean, isn't that how Europe got rid of its people when they first settled here? They emptied the jails and got rid of all the poor people and shipped them over to America.
They emptied the insane asylums too.
Yes.
Talk with them. Ask them. What happened? They don't want to be here in the cold weather climate.
I know. It was.
Some decide. They decide to come and make money, send the money back home, and then they go home. They can't go back. They're stuck in America.
Wow. Yeah,
so that's just another perspective. Don't believe me. Go to an immigrant and ask them why they're here.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Kofi.
Now, as far as Trump, there's two presidents. Let them talk. Okay?
Yeah.
Come on. Is Mama going to meet with the black writers? Come on now. Black folks. Y'all out here asking all on social media, oh, we want this, we want that. Okay, now you got a president who's saying he want to meet with you, and you're going to turn that down. You know what? Stop being retarded.
Yeah, I do hear that there are those who are upset that Donald Trump is going to be allowed to address the black journalists. But I agree with you. Why are we talking about somebody and we can talk directly to them? And it doesn't make sense to say, well, I hate him. He shouldn't be allowed to speak.
You know, we talk a lot, but our intelligence level is lacking. Okay.
Yeah.
We talk a lot, but we don't use intelligence. If black folks would just use a little intelligence, we'll be so far advanced. We hurt ourselves. I've heard some people say, I don't want you to give me nothing. I'd rather just starve before you give me anything. That's a black mentality.
Yeah, I think a lot of we enjoy expressing anger instead of addressing a solution to the problem. And that's why we have this show, because we're about solutions. Just constantly venting is a waste of time. It might make you feel better, but in the end, it doesn't change anything. So we got to take a break, but thank you so much, Kofi, for weighing in on that.
That's why I share a little intelligence to make others go, oh, you know what? He said it, so maybe I can say it. That's what I do. I say things that other people can't. I force intelligence on people.
Well, sometimes that's what it takes. But thanks so much. We appreciate you. And we'll be right back after this break. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, if you are watching on our Facebook or YouTube channel, The Female Solution, we want you to write in your question that you'd like to pose to former President Donald Trump. He's going to be at the NABJ conference kicking off today at the Hilton Hotel, downtown Chicago. And we're excited because, of course, our on-air news reporting team is going to be there to ask your questions. And you can go to onairdailynews.com and we'll share with you some of our coverage as we've been out and about getting the real deal out in the neighborhoods. And there are a lot of people who are making things happen in the world. So we invite you to be one of them. And we'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. You can follow us on YouTube. Just go to The Female Solution, or Facebook, The Female Solution. Write in your comments. And we'll be right back after these brief messages. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. And if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, along with our co-host, Kareem Hamid. And you have an opportunity to listen in, call in, and comment, because today we're looking at meeting with the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, as he addresses the National Association of Black Journalists. Well, this is not an easy thing for many people to swallow. They're a bit upset because they see him as the enemy. And the fact is, there is no enemy, but there are people who have different points of view. And if they get in positions of authority, some of the things they decide to do could be hurtful. So how do we have an impact? So what's another question that you'd possibly like to ask him if given the opportunity to address?
Oh, me? You're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Well, boy, there's a myriad of subject matter that I would like to ask him. Yeah. You are proposing blanket immunity for someone in the office of the presidency, even if they commit crimes while in that office. They're committing crimes in our name, and that the president should have blanket immunity, that he should not be held accountable for his actions, be they legal or illegal. He even proposed that the president has the authority to assassinate his competitors, his rivals. Thus, that's a statement I would make to him and ask him, how do you plan to implement that plan? You know, people can make statements, but those statements are connected to a lot of people, And so the question I would ask him is, who is above the law? I was under the impression that this was a nation of laws and not of men.
Well, now that is definitely a good question, because we have seen so many lawmakers make themselves immune from consequences after they break a law.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we avoid corruption unless we make everybody accountable for their behavior and make the penalty for violating the law the same for everyone? That totally makes sense to me.
You know, Naima, also there is a move coming from Biden that the Supreme Court does not have a published set of ethics. Does not have a public set of ethics. And there's no limit to their sitting on the Supreme Court. The proposal is to draw up a set of ethics that everyone chooses to live by. I mean, this is the number one judicial department in this country. So it's called Supreme Court because that is how they see themselves. After that, there is no recourse for questioning them, but we we will work to have some things reversed that they have implemented. So the idea of a rogue court and a rogue executive. I mean, the deck is stacked against the American citizens of this country. No one should be above the law. No one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I believe that such a document doesn't exist because there was a presumption that the Constitution covers everything. And yet the Constitution is always getting reinterpreted by the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
And then a precedent is set. So one decision is used as a reason to make another decision. Yeah. And we know we've had a period of time in this nation when we were not citizens and had no rights legally according to how the Constitution was then interpreted. So I think that is a good idea to have some type of an ethical standard that is non-changeable. If we're saying that we believe in the inalienable rights of all human beings, well, then let's make that be so and not be able to be interpreted if you decide, well, but these people don't really have rights. Well, these people, they're not citizens, so we're going to snatch their children from them. Or they don't have money, so they're going to stay in jail without a trial because they can't pay to get out. There has to be a code of ethics if we believe we're a nation under God, as it's quoted.
That's right.
So,
and we have the ability to change whenever the Constitution is not meeting our basic human rights. Our human rights. We have the right to change the Constitution.
Absolutely. If it's not meeting our needs and it's not protecting our rights, we have the power to change it. Right. And it's one thing that the citizens, and that's why you need to first register and vote. If you're not participating in the process, then why do you think you have a right to complain? So many people will complain about what isn't happening, and yet when an opportunity such as an election comes around, they will not vote. And if they say, well, it doesn't matter, they're all the same. Okay, well then why don't you be somebody who runs? Because there have been people who have run for office and won and made a difference. So these are articles I'm showing from our the today's edition of On Air Daily News. You can get right online at onair.dailynews.com. And this gives us an opportunity to share with you some of the stories that are making an impact. And of course, we know that one of the biggest things is the idea that we may have a Black female president. NABJ has also invited Vice President Kamala Harris. And, you got some folks that they don't like her, or she did this and that when she was Attorney General, or she didn't really speak up when she was Vice President, and blah, blah, blah. We've been with her, had a chance to, be with her when she comes to Chicago and surrounding states and so forth. met her before she even ran for president the last time and became vice president, and saw in her a real spirit. And yet there are going to be some people, and even there are some now, an opportunity to elect a Black female president, they will complain and complain and complain and not vote. So when you do nothing, do you really have a right to complain? So we want you all to give us a call. Let's check our switchboard and see those who have a statement to make. What questions would you like to ask the former president, Donald Trump? If you're on our switchboard now, feel free to press 1. We'll open your mic. Don't wait till the last minute, like 2 minutes to go before the show, because I'm not going to open your mic when it's time to go. So get your thoughts together and ask your question now while you have time to talk and get your statements heard. And if you're on our on-air switchboard, that's 727-731-5192. And of course, we will have you unmute so you can be heard by our audience. We can really see this is a transformative time in the nation. We have the power to change things. We have the power to empower ourselves. We have voices, and the National Association of Black Journalists is an organization that has worked to ensure that the voices that we hear are balanced. We've had to fight our way into some of these newsrooms. We've created and expanded on our own media companies. We have put different thoughts out there to help people remove the brainwashing and prejudice and all the stereotypes that they've been conditioned to believe by distorted media. So we have power in our hands now, but with power comes responsibility to act, and to keep complaining when people are giving you a choice doesn't make any sense. And you can't blame people when you're choosing not to speak up and choosing not to make your voice heard. So we had a chance to talk to the president of the National Association of Black Journalists on our Monday Morning Mindfulness show. And of course, you get the link right here on the on-air daily news page and listen to the interview, because we talked about some very important issues, one of them being the homelessness issue.
Yes.
Because,
yes.
And that's something that I would address with the former president and the Republican nominee, Donald Trump. The housing market has escalated in such a way that people's salaries and then the requirements for the credit and all of these things, there's so many barriers to helping people be able to simply get into a home or maintain a home. And when you see homeless populations that comprise of mothers with children and empty buildings, what kind of sense does that make when you have empty buildings, people who need shelter, and you won't put the two together because they don't have money? How are banks benefiting from this? Okay, maybe it's a tax write-off as long as they are at a loss, but what kind of human standards are we showing when we would rather have a building stand empty in the dead of winter and see a mother with her children out on the street freezing, and we won't give her shelter because she doesn't have money? Same thing with a man. And you have so many men who they're starving, can't get a job because whatever requirements they don't meet, maybe the education they didn't have, or maybe they were trained in an industry that no longer exists, or the jobs went overseas. So they're out here and, needing some type of help, and people will look at them with scorn and say, oh, get a job. And so they're out here And people aren't going to starve, and they're watching you walk past, and you got your purse with your wallet in it, your money, your cash, your credit cards. So now we have these robberies, this crime, this violence. People are taking because it's not being shared with them. Crime escalates when poverty is created. So rather than alleviate the poverty, we're penalizing the poor. Why are we doing this, and why are we making it difficult for people to do something as basic as get a home? Even an apartment. You know, you got to get 2 months security and all of this, and after you go through all of the checks for your background, and if you've had any kind of mistake that you've made, or even a wrongful arrest and conviction, then that becomes a stain on your record and you can't get housing. So we're letting people suffer. We're making them suffer. And I'd like to know, what policies does he see supporting and encouraging legislators to enact so that we can change the housing market, so that people can get into these empty buildings, and owners of these buildings can get the money they need to fix it up? Because we know, you got to have capital in order to maintain property. So we understand, okay, I can't make the repairs on my building if I don't have rent money. If they can't pay rent money, I can't have them come in here and tear stuff up, and then I still can't get the money I need to fix up the building. So we understand the problem. There has to be a way to help property owners get what they need to maintain the building. And there has to be a way to let people come into the building and live when they don't have a place to stay, so that everybody gets what they need, and we're not creating the conditions that lead to the crime and the violence. So I would certainly address that.
I would like to ask the American taxpayer, because we are the one that are footing the bill. When you compare what is actually allocated toward the military industrial complex, billions of dollars, and the citizens are homeless and living in not third world country conditions, but fourth world.
Absolutely.
Conditions.
Yes.
We have to have we need to right the ship. Wait a minute.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's our money that you are spending.
That's right. Yes.
For these huge bombers and
yes,
huge bombs, and you're constantly developing more and more fierce weapons.
Yes. Now we've got a caller here, but there's some static on the line. 727-741.
That's Martha Nyla Abdullah.
Okay, Martha Nyla. Okay, there's some static on your line. I don't know if you're next to a fan or something like that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we hear you now. Okay, great. All right. Yes, Martha Nyla. Thank you for calling us. And Martha, where are you from again? What city?
I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida.
St. Petersburg.
I'm currently in Pompano Beach, Florida.
Okay.
Florida. And by the way, I'm calling to let you all know that AM 360 is now connected.
All right, great.
I had to do some technical stuff, but alhamdulillah, I wanted to comment also on your discussion and questions, and it comes back to those who have the knowledge and the patience and the wherewithal to, like you were speaking about the policies, really go through them and painstakingly go through them, but at the same time have the intent to, or first of all, know that the reason for all of this is to conquer. I mean, power, move, and all of that is to divide and conquer, even within our own country. So just knowing that, then we have to see anyone who can contest the Constitution or even see what we call loopholes and go through it, but we're looking for the good. And so CWSC, Community Watch Share Conference, is willing to do just that. We have established a 50-year human family strategic planning initiative, under the 2, faith and family, and then under that, posting various ways and means. So for anyone wanting to connect, may I give the phone number?
Absolutely. Yes.
Naima.
Yes, you may.
Okay. 910-317-0297. Again, it's 910-317-0297. Serious-minded, only God is in charge. We're doing at least for 50 years Human Family Strategic Planning Initiatives. At the same time commemorating Imam Warsi Muhammad, rahimahullah, mercy of Almighty God be upon him, 50 years past. So we have to delegate ourselves to the future as well. So alhamdulillah. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Martha Abdullah. We appreciate you so very much. We're going to take another break and take another caller. And if you are watching on our Facebook or YouTube channel, then we will, in fact, read your comments. If you write them in, we'll share them with our listening and viewing audience. And when we come back, I'll open the microphone for the AM 360 line. I believe they'll be able to hear and call in on that line as well.
Naima, I have you connected already to the
great.
line.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. All right.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you so much.
Martha?
Yes, sir.
Should I enter the host queue or shall you handle that?
No, because I think if you, because I think if you did it, because you can hear him through our connection, and I think if he made a connection, then there'd be an echo. So
okay, we don't want that.
Yeah, we've.
If you called it correct, then it'll be clearer.
Okay. Let's see. Well, because he's on the screen, he's connected 2 ways, so that's why. And there's a slight time difference. So I don't know if there's a way to make sure his sound is better. I want to make sure he's heard clearly, but I know that we're dealing with multiple networks, so every day I gotta make sure all the sound systems are congruent and we don't get echoes because we're streaming live on multiple platforms. So
okay, we'll leave well enough alone.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for your assistance. All right. Well, we will be right back after this quick break, and we invite you all to call in 515-605-9325. That's the Female Solution Radio Network, and 515-605-9891. That's our American Muslim 360 Blog Talk channel, and of course, you can call in there, and the 727-731-5192. That's the On-Air Radio Network, which we are also live. And you can call in and comment because we want you to give your view about what you would say to the Republican nominee, Donald Trump, who is addressing the National Association of Black Journalists today at the National Convention. And there will be journalists from around the nation and maybe even some from overseas. But he's giving an opportunity for us to meet him. And yes, there are those who don't like him, but he's a human being. He has been the president of the United States. And if you don't like his policies or don't like what he's saying now, here is your opportunity to face ask and inquire and get an answer. So, I might have to mute that mic because I'm getting a little bit of that feedback. And
President Trump's rhetoric changes sometimes from hour to hour. He'll say one thing on one platform, and you see him later on another platform, and he says the total opposite. And then he will say, "Oh no, I didn't say that."
Oh. Okay, here we go. We got it.
Right.
All right.
No, I didn't say that. So, can whatever his answers are, whatever his statements are, can we believe anything that he says to us when it is factual that he tells untruths almost every time his mouth moves? Can we trust what he says? I don't trust nothing he says. Nothing, because he has presented himself as a charlatan, one that will take advantage of any circumstance, any situation for his own personal gain.
Mhm.
But it is a blessing that he will be questioned. The most important part of this gathering for me is the question and answering period.
Yes.
And these are intelligent journalists. They are very sharp minds, and I trust that they will ask the important questions that we all have.
Absolutely.
At first I was saying, "Oh, why would they do that? Oh, no, they should know."
And some people did respond that way. I understand that one of the officers was of the organization was not pleased.
Right.
And I understand, if you have in your mind this is the enemy, then that's how you're going to see it. But I think we allow ourselves even to be manipulated into hating someone or fearing someone.
Well, it's not him. It's his policies. It's what he says.
Right.
And the opportunity to question him face to face, we shouldn't pass that up.
Absolutely.
Really, regardless of how we feel about him. This is our opportunity. Whether he tells the truth or not, at least you have the right and the privilege to ask questions and share your comments also.
Absolutely.
Very important. Mutual consultation is very important.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be right back, take some more calls and hear more comments. And feel free to write in your comments. What would you ask the former president if you had an opportunity to be at that meeting? What would you like to see journalists ask? And of course, we'll do our best to get that word in. We'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in just one moment. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating, empowering,
interactive conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Gathering of the Griots with Asada. Wednesdays, Repairing Family Relationships with Naima and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Veggie Brunch Live with Angela. Fridays, Health and Well-Being with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Global Talks with Zana. Second Saturday, Walk in Your Divine Authority with Mama Joy. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. Fourth Saturday, be a judge on the virtual Teens, Tweens, and Tots Talent Contest. And fifth Saturday, join us on location as we conversate at the Elevate Cafe, owner Jackie Brooks. Sundays, join us 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Go to thefemalesolution.com to join us on our video or audio live streaming platforms. Listen at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in on the Blog Talk Radio Network 515-605-9325 or call in and comment on the On-Air Radio Network 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif with all our co-hosts, Kareem Hamid and our American Muslim 360 family, as we stream live on multiple platforms every day. And we want you to be a part of this discussion because we are reaching our global family with a topic that affects the world. Who becomes president of the United States does affect the world. And so we know that the policy of the person who takes that office is going to have an impact, and we need to ask questions. So let me pull up another question here, and then we'll take some more callers. Warren Houston says, what's the calling number? 515-605-9325. I'm going to text it to you so that you can call in because we'd love to hear your voice. And Warren Houston empowered many people by teaching a law class. And he had a law study group where it taught a lot of things, everything, real estate law and other kinds of law that, business law. People need to know the laws. When you're elected to public office, that is a lawmaking position. And if you're not a lawyer, then you need to learn how to introduce laws if you get elected to a lawmaking position. Now, that's one thing that I've observed. A lot of whites who run for office are in business or in law. A lot of blacks who run for office are activists or in religion. They're a religious leader. We tend to take our leadership from the pulpit, from the houses of religion, because, a lot of it is historic. The black preacher was the one that the white slave owner would allow to talk as a leader because they were conditioned to reiterate verses in the Bible that said, obey your master. So their job was to keep us docile and accepting of mistreatment, believing that God would reward us for our loyalty and all of that. So that has been traditionally where our leadership came from, and that's not always good. So what are your thoughts on that as we look at leadership?
Naima, there's another question that I would ask the former president.
And what's that?
Is what are your plans for ending the genocidal slaughter that is occurring in occupied Palestine? What is your position on that? And what would you do to cease the killing and the slaughter that we are all witnessing in real time? What would you do to end that horrendous practice? Matter of fact, that is a question that I truly hope that someone addresses the Honorable Kamala Harris with. I noticed when she exited a private meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of the Zionist government of Israel, when she came out, she said emphatically and with full strength, we support the two-state solution, and we vehemently and strongly we want a ceasefire. You know, at one time, the word ceasefire was not even allowed in journalistic in articles written. But she came out forcefully and said, we support a two-state solution and a ceasefire. She said also, we will not turn a blind eye to the suffering that we are seeing happening among the Palestinian people. We will not turn a blind eye to that. That's something that Joseph Biden never said.
Right.
He was asked, are you a Zionist? And he said, yes.
Yes, he did.
So, you know, so if you can facilitate the slaughter of a whole people, and you want me to attach my name to supporting you, that will never happen. So the court is still out for me on Kamala Harris.
Well, that is an issue that's going to make a difference, and that's the Muslim community across America is not supporting the Democratic Party because of its policies in Israel.
And not just the Muslims.
That's who wins.
It's not just
the Muslims. It's the people who don't want to see the slaughter.
Human beings across the world.
That is true.
Are expressing their humanity. So my question would be for her: are you going to continue the policies of your predecessor? They said, well, just finish the job.
What's the job?
What is the job?
Yes.
So to me, that is uppermost.
Absolutely.
Of my concerns.
Yes. Well, we want you all to weigh in on that one as well, because that's probably going to be like the deciding issue among others, but that's one of the major issues of this campaign. How is that going to be handled? And we are again brainwashed. Mass media propaganda. You have this intense religious conflict. People saying, well, the Jews are the chosen people. We have to protect their right to exist and all of that sort of thing. And the fact of the matter is you had land taken from people. A political move. It was not a spiritual. It was a political decision to take people off of their land.
Purely.
And that has created this conflict that continues to escalate. It has spilled out over all nations, and we have to want it to stop. And we want to hear the language from someone running that says they will stop it. So what are your thoughts? And we're going to hear from Aaron Jones that says, every single attendee should show up. The minute Trump tells his first lie, every single journalist should walk out and protest. That would be humiliating for Donald Trump. Well, now, what do y'all think about this? I mean, I've seen people walk out and protest because somebody says something. I don't know. Well, I think those who disagreed with having him there felt like his presence validated his views. But like you just pointed out, Kareem, you know, both sides have some questionable views.
Yes. Yes.
So he's not this, you know, demon, and Biden was not an angel, and Kamala Harris, the jury's out on her, because we need to hear something come out of her mouth that says she's going to take this policy in a different direction.
Full-throated.
Toward peace.
No nuances. You know what get me is when I hear them say, we want a two-state solution. Now, Naima, if I rob a bank and I get caught, am I allowed to keep half of the proceeds that I robbed?
I love that analogy.
Think about that. These people are very arrogant. And we're echoing.
I deserve to share the proceeds from my robbery, at least.
Yes. This is mine. I have a sovereign right to that which I stole and I robbed and I killed and got.
Yeah.
Now reward me.
Yeah.
Give me at least half.
Give me at least half
of what I took. We have to use our common sense. We have to be rational, common sense, intelligent population, and not led by our emotions. And I'm grateful to the religious, God-fearing Jews that are coming out full-throated saying, this has nothing to do with our religion.
Absolutely.
Zionism has nothing to do. We are vehemently against Zionism. I mean, so we don't want to lump everybody in. Yeah, no. Matter of fact, Zionism is not predicated on a religious position.
Right. It's about a land grab.
It's about a land grab and also a misreading of scripture. I have to say that. They have written into scripture that the return of Christ, may the prayers and peace be upon him, will occur when the Jews have Jerusalem under their charge. They are surrounded. So they feel that if we force this here, we'll force the return of Jesus the Christ. And that's why you find Christians that's putting up with this immoral slaughter of human beings to hasten in the supposed return of. I'm going to say this here and I'm going to leave it alone. Christ has already returned.
He never left.
If you want to talk about it.
He really never left.
No.
You know.
He is in each and every last one of us. He said, I in you and you in me. So the resurrection of Christ is to what? Resurrect the best of yourself. The principles that he stood for is within every human being.
Absolutely.
Don't look for flesh and blood. Look for the spirit.
And do you all really believe? Do you really believe that this is how God works? If I force some people off the land and kill them, then I can make some spiritual things happen. I mean, really? But you'd be surprised. You know, once people have a thought that they think makes sense, they will hold on to it with both hands and not let it go. Yes. And that's what makes negotiation difficult, when people are not using common sense and they're choosing to take a political point of view that's in their economic interests. Now, like you say about the bank robbery, that bank robber is going to believe that keeping at least half of that money. Look, I'm being generous. I had all of it. I'm generous if I offer to give half of it back. Not looking at it that way. I stole it from you. Yeah, I got it all, but none of it was mine in the beginning. Yeah. Instead, that robber thinks, well, look, I'm going to generously offer to share you a portion of it. And how generous am I offering to give you half? You should be grateful. I'm giving you half of what I have. No, you're giving half of what you stole. None of it was yours.
Thank you.
This is the difficulty that we're facing in that situation.
And intelligent men and women in high offices of government or repeating that mantra. Now, look, I'm just little Kareem. I don't have a position in government, but if I can see that that just doesn't make sense, I'm quite sure they do too. But they are owned by the international corporate interest.
That's what everything
on
comes
this
down
earth.
to. Follow the money. That's what politics is all about, protecting financial interests. When people were pro-slavery, it was about protecting the financial interests of the landowners who needed free labor so they could produce crops at a big profit, and that economy was powering the nation. So once things became industrialized and the nation was not so much relying on that slave labor economy, that's when the split happened. But until that time, the North was just as much pro-slavery as the South. So let's be honest about this. It's all about protecting financial interests.
Yes, that's it. That's it. You know, we hear of the wars in Sudan, one of the most largest displacement of human beings inside of one border that the world has ever seen. The starvation, the slaughter. And come to find out, oil has been discovered in southern Sudan. And that is what is fueling the rivalry between two greedy generals that want to control the resources. And we don't hear about that on mainstream media. It's just ignored. But there's an oil corporation that is funding one group against another. As they use this terminology, we must clear the land for our development. Now, when they say clear the land, they don't mean we need to rake the leaves. We need to cut the grass. Clear the land means to get rid of the inhabitants, as was done in this country. They are only following the same formula. Now, if I was Netanyahu, and thank God I'm not, I would remind America of the formula that it used to get what it has. Clear the land. That came from military governmental orders. Clear the land. And there was a campaign of extermination in this country. So this is a formula that has been utilized down the ages. Matter of fact, there's a documentary and a book written and a movie made entitled Exterminate All the Brutes.
Ooh.
And that came from out of Europe. Exterminate all the brutes. So this is the same formula. Satan have not changed. He has no morality. He haven't changed. So the formula that we are witnessing now has been going on for a long time. So, and we need to right the ship.
And that is true. So what we have done here in America is the exact same thing that has been done in Israel, taken the land from the people, kill them, and decided that it was God's will that the Europeans take over this continent. And if you say God said something, well, how do I know God said it? Because I said he said it. I mean, that's pretty much when people are claiming that they have some kind of divine right. Well, they say they have it because they said they have it. That's pretty much what we're allowing to happen in this situation with Israel and what happened with the indigenous people here. So the question becomes, after you have taken someone's property and you've kept it for a long time, and in your mind it's yours, and they say no, give it back. How do you facilitate that? Especially if you've gone through some generations of people that were born thinking, oh, well, this is mine. It was always mine. It's been mine my whole life. Now you're saying it used to be yours. Well, no, you can't have it.
Right.
So this is the state we're in. You have to figure out a way to make wrong right, to right a wrong. And yet the people who have been living with the wrong, they don't want it to be made right, because that means they have to give away something that they never should have in the first place. So that is a volatile situation. Just like if the indigenous people here were to say, we had this land before, we want all of y'all to get off. Well, we can't do that now because we got our homes here. Yeah, but it's not yours. Get off our land. What would happen? Well, we know it wouldn't happen.
No.
So we as a human family have to figure out how to share what we have in a way that is fair and equitable, and acknowledge that there was wrongs done. Acknowledge that there were cruelties and inequities so that people could feed their greed. We have to acknowledge it and then lay a foundation so that in the future there is not a conflict based on a wrongdoing from the past. And that's what a wise leader would do. And I don't know if either of them have the wisdom. Now, in today's edition of On Air Daily News, we did take a look at the fact that Pastor Corey Brooks did the closing prayer, and he made some statements on it in an interview, and I believe his heart is really in the right place. He said that he believes in helping the immigrants, but he's against illegal entry, and he believes that President Trump has a better view on that America needs to be for Americans and not people who enter illegally. He did say that he's not for, he can say for separating families, but certainly thinks that the money that we spend for the illegal immigrants could be used for things like education that would make life better for people. Now, I agree with that. That makes sense.
The victor write the laws in their favor.
Absolutely.
So what we're talking about, legal and illegal, it's legal because you set the rules.
Right.
It is illegal if I have another viewpoint.
Right.
And for real, the indigenous people of Mexico and Central America and South America, they had possession of the western half of this continent, California, Texas, Arizona, and you took that from them.
They could say we're illegals. And
you're talking about they're illegal.
Right. I'm just taking back what was mine. What are you saying?
Right.
I can't come
That's
here.
What I'm saying. What if it was possible, and this is only hypothetical thinking, if it was possible, if we could eradicate all of these imagined borders, and live as one community, and be willing to share with each other, I believe that is the answer. But nationalism
really is the answer.
Yes, not nationalism is its time has passed. We are no longer just locked into a nation. We're connected universally around the world.
That's true.
Show that connectedness. When the internet went down, everybody, wait a minute.
Yes, people panicked, didn't they? Yes.
Right. So we are connected, but we have to start operating as we want to be a partner, not the big bully on the block.
That is really the answer. We've got some comments here as well, and Zakia Muhammad says, Kamala will be an extension of the Obama-Biden administration that ignored Black people's issues and supports a country that are killing thousands of Muslims. Well,
we'll see. We shall see.
And I'm hoping that she agrees to speak to the NABJ. I'm hoping that she also agrees to make her case before the nation's black journalists, because we need to know. I mean, everybody wants to know, is your policy going to be any different? Because if it is, don't expect our support.
It's not your skin color.
And, you know,
it's not your gender.
Hey.
Or it's not your gender or skin color that concerns us.
Policies is not
the
your
policies that you will enact.
Right. And that is a very difficult situation. I want to be 100% behind her, because the alternative is somebody who, and so if someone asks President Trump that question about what his plans are for ending war, if he says something that sounds better than the Democrats, he's going to get some votes.
You hear me? Sure will.
And I'm sure his people are probably thinking, look, strategically,
right,
if we can word things in such a way that sounds like he'll get some votes, because this is a seriously hot issue, and people are not going to just blanketly support Kamala because she's, you know, female and
black and African American looking.
Yeah, not enough.
That's
not enough.
The melanin in one's skin does not denote.
Okay, so we got some callers from on the switchboard. Let me take Warren, and as we get ready to bring, Cheryl Charles says, unless we are indigenous, we are all here illegally. That's right. Now I do have some Cherokee in my background, so I can deserve to be here. But if you're not indigenous, then you're here illegally. So who can you talk about and call illegal and everything? That is a point of view. So let me bring up our switchboard and talk to Warren Houston. And, you know, one of the things that has made this a complicated issue is the fact that there are so many people who have been affected by what you say, you know, the whole what is legal, what is illegal, who deserves to be here, who doesn't. And you have immigrants who have come here legally and still can't get citizenship because of, you know, various things. And then you have the illegals who are protected by people who hire them because they have to work for less wages, or they choose to work for less wages because they can't really protest it.
Right.
Otherwise they get sent back. So their illegal status is actually benefiting somebody who's taking advantage of it, but at the same time providing a way for them to stay here. So economically, the illegality is being supported, which makes it kind of hypocritical for people to talk about it, especially like a lot of these hotel workers and a lot of these low-paying jobs. They're hiring undocumented people because they can pay them less. So if you're benefiting, just like if people benefited from the slave industry, you can't on the one hand attack it, but on the other hand, you buying the products that it produces.
Yes.
And that's been the contradiction in all of this, is that on the one hand, we'll say something's wrong, but then on the other hand, if you financially benefit from it, you don't really want it to stop. You just want people to not be upset about it. That's really what this is. So yes, if we are not indigenous, we are all illegals. So as I get ready to bring in Warren Houston, what's another issue that you think should be addressed by the journalists?
What, in asking Trump a question?
Yes.
Well, yes, the nation is crumbling. The majority of cities and neighborhoods were built in the late 1800s or the early 1900s. And those neighborhoods and those buildings and those streets are deteriorating. I think it's time to seriously rebuild the infrastructure. And the infrastructure is not just streets and bridges. It is housing. Rebuild the material position of this country. Rebuild it materially. And that opens up employment opportunities for everyone. As we send trillions to other countries to wage war against their people.
Yes, we've got a bunch of callers here, and we want to take you in this order: 346-217, 647-204, 773-436. And anybody else on our switchboard, press 1 so we can get your thoughts. But let me first go to 347-217, and I think after that we got 727-741 after that. 346-217. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your question or comment.
Well, good morning, man. Good morning, my brother. This is Warren Houston from Houston, Texas.
Hey, Warren Houston.
Hey, Warren. Glad to hear your voice, my brother.
All right. Yeah, glad to join you all this morning. I had to make a statement. I was figuring I'd listen. So, but before I make my statement, let me clear up something about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not black. Her mother is an Indian. And her father, although from Jamaica, he identifies as white Irish, and Indian. So she's not black at all. So being from Jamaica, not necessarily make her black. But what I want to say basically is when it relates to the convention, the conference, I am glad that former President Donald Trump is there, and hopefully our people will get out of their feelings and have enough intellect to sit down and listen and ask the questions of those that are important to this convention or conference that's being held. If we look at the record based on the policy, when Trump took office in 2017, the job creation at a half-century low, and hadn't seen that kind of job creation in over 50 years, was somewhere around about 3.5%. And then COVID happened, and of course that knocked everything off. And then when Biden took over, it went down to 3.4%. So he did capitalize on that and add 15 plus million jobs to the economy. At the same time, adding those 15 million jobs to the economy, the problem that the board of President Trump fixed, he totally unraveled it. And we have the problem, the situation we have now. Inflation between 2017 and 2020 was between 2%, 2.5%. Since Biden is taking over, it's well over 9.1%. Interest rates up under the Trump administration was below 3%. They are now 11 times higher, over 5%. Gas is outrageous. Food is over 50%. So we are really suffering from things that have happened under this administration, not to mention all the immoral acts and things that have been passed that have just viewed things even worse. So at the end of the day, when I look at his stats, we say what we want to say about Trump, and I know he's known to say it do some wild and crazy things sometimes, but the record, I think, speaks for itself.
So ultimately, then, do you think that Kamala Harris could be a viable candidate?
I don't think so at all.
So that leaves us with a Donald Trump. Do you think he could be reasonable and rational as the president?
Well, at the end of the day, the policy is geared toward Americans and putting America first. And I don't see anything wrong with that. There's a problem with putting America first because that, in my personal opinion, I actually there's a bigger hand at play. And we talk about these things, but we don't see what's happening on the world stage. There's a bigger hand at play in actually bringing in a one world government. And Donald Trump was an interference to that. When he stepped in, he became an interference to that. There's a book, and I'm pretty sure I've told you about it on the show before. Manning Johnson. The book was written in the 40s, 50s, somewhere around the time, called Color, Communism, and Common Sense. And what Manning Johnson discussed is what we always talk about, and how they were a part of the Democratic Party and working with the Democratic Party because they thought that's what he was in the belief that this is what needed to be done to help people of color. He found out as he wrote this book, stepped away from it, that these people were communists. And so you have people outside of this country that hate this country and will do anything they can and find out loopholes or problems that we have and turn against each other to try to destroy it from the inside. We have a lot of hate from the outside. This is a thing that we're not seeing. I'm not even comfortable with Kamala Harris as president as it relates to foreign affairs. I would think that if she was president, that no country would respect us as having a woman president. That's just how I feel.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And I think because of that, she might be under pressure to be kind of hawkish in terms of pro-war, just so people say, oh, she's strong. But strength is not killing. Strength is negotiating so that you dispel war. And if those are the policies and the principles that we as a nation or as the majority of the people espouse, then perhaps that's something that she could support because that's what we are saying as a collective that we believe in. Well, we got some more callers, Warren, but I do want to thank you for putting that forth. And that is a thought about, do other nations respect female leadership? Some do, some may not, but maybe.
That's Margaret Thatcher.
There you go. And she was kind of brutal in some ways. And I think
Indira Gandhi.
Indira Gandhi. See, I think what happens, and women, I want y'all to really think about this. If we are believing that we must be aggressive and even more aggressive than our male counterparts to show that we're strong, then it's not helpful for us to be female. How many times have we seen female police officers overreact and be even more brutal and first to pull out a gun because they wanted to show that you're not going to dominate me. I'm going to show you I'm a strong woman. And sometimes that decision causes us to be even more vicious instead of solving the problem in a way that shows our intelligence as women. So let's think about that. What do we want to see in a woman president that's going to be different than a male president? The first thing they want to do is push the button and blow everybody up. How is that helpful? Well, let me go to another caller. Let's see. We've got 773-436. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your comments.
Hallelujah, greetings.
Hey, Mama D. All right, we trying to get an hour, Mama D. We trying to get us there. So yes, we are trying to get our on-air reporting staff there in the house so that they can get that word out. So what would you like to ask former President Donald Trump?
Well, before I get to what I'd like to ask him, I just want to get some language straight. The vice president said she was not going to do anything for just black people. She is an Amerasian. She has an Asian mother, and her daddy has some black in her. Now, Obama said he was not the first black president because black has no standing in law. He was the first Kenyan American president. And except for Donald Trump, all the USA presidents, including Obama, had slavery ties. Trump was the only one that did not have slavery ties. Now, Michelle Obama said slaves built the White House. Donald Trump said African Americans built the country. Now, I would like to ask him, what is his position on reparations? And also, what did he think about the $5.2 billion that was given to the vice president to find out why people wanted to come over into this country and what could be done to keep them from coming over. I'd like for him to have an audit of what happened to that 5.2 billion that she was given.
Now that's interesting.
Those are the questions that I'd like to ask him.
Yes. Well, now that'd be quite a question. Let me take one. Yes. Well, of course, for those who are watching, we have pulled up on the screen. Let me make sure I got your voice up here too. We have pulled up on the screen the article that Mama D wrote in the on-air Daily News, and one of our star reporters out here handling the business, and she was addressing the 4th of July weekend violence, which, you know, we saw that happening really all over the nation, but definitely in Chicago it was pretty horrific. And, you know, sometimes
I was at the rally last night.
How was that?
For Sonia Massey.
Yes.
I was at the rally last night. Do you realize that 2 Black mothers were murdered in their home in less than 2 weeks?
That's horrible. That is horrific.
And when the 2 Black mothers were murdered in their home, 3 Black children under the age of 8 was also shot up, and one of them died. And if it had not been for the mother killing the 1-year-old with her body, that one would have been killed too.
Oh, now that is horrific.
I comprehend when you call for help and the people paid to give you the help ends up assassinating you. I know that's an issue. But when 2 Black mothers are murdered in their home and 3 Black children under the age of 8 are left fighting for their life, what is the march on that?
And you know, that is that police brutality issue. I believe somebody pointed that out earlier also. How are you giving immunity to these officers? And how does that make sense? And this is what we say, who we elect, it's a life and death decision for us. It's not just a party. It's like, who is going to protect our lives?
He should have been near, considered his background, near getting a job as a police officer. That was about as him was about as intelligent as saying, we're the uneducated. But that man is up there on top of the roof. He's got a rifle. I don't think it's a good idea for him to be up on the roof with a gun. We're the uneducated. And
you know, that I'm baffled with that. I truly am baffled with that whole situation. How do you notice somebody on the roof and you say, wow, I wonder what he's doing up there with a rifle? Boy, why would he? And then let him stay up there. That baffled me. We've got some other comments here. Let's see. And Charles says Trump is a proven liar. He appointed the Supreme Court judges who gutted voting rights, civil rights, affirmative action, and women's health care. No matter what he says, he is all for tax cuts for the rich and corporate deregulation that poisons our air, water, and environment. Well, you know, people have said, look at his record. This is what we saw. And Charles says all of his numbers are actually wrong. Trump added trillions to the debt, ignored COVID, which allowed hundreds of thousands to die, made states compete for resources. The U.S. is more sexist than other first world countries. Angela Merkel was well respected, and Mexico has a woman president. And I think that's a powerful thought too, because really the sexism is coming from America.
Yes, it is.
More than anywhere else. So, and then maybe America that disrespected other female leaders, but it wasn't that they were the sexist one. It was the American attitude towards women. And Zelda Robinson says, Grand Rising, beautiful people. Looking forward to one-of-a-kind experience at the convention. There'll be lots of lies flowing from both parties. Let's see who convinces us to vote one way or the other. You know, I tend to agree on that.
Well, I have a sign. In conclusion, I have a sign. And on the front of it, I had Sonia Massey should not bear the cross alone. It's time to lift him up. And on the back of the flyer that I had I said we must go back to the future. You know, the Messiah said, how was it in the beginning? So we need to go back
to the future.
To the future of morals and holy matrimony.
Well, I've heard that. Well, all right. Well, thank you, Mama D. We appreciate you so very much. And yes, you can read the words of Mama D at onairDailyNews.com. Yes. And let's go to area code 727-741. I think we got time for one more comment before we go. Yes, 727.
Okay. Hello. Well, we have a license 12882.
Oh, okay. Go right ahead. Thanks for bringing them in. Yes.
312.
Assalamu alaikum. We're on Shalom. This Minister Robert for
yeah, make it quick, Brother Clump. We only got a minute.
Yes, I just wanted to add the fact that what have both parties done for the black community lately? I would be concerned, like Mama D. Love mentioned, about their position in terms of reparations. And I'm concerned also about Plump Music Productions doing music for both sides.
Well, you know, Minister Plump, you got to call them about that because we can't make that happen. But you can call them directly and hey, come up with a campaign song for Minister for former President Trump. See if he likes it. Well, thanks so much. We've got to get ready to go. We want to thank everybody who listened in, called in, and commented and wrote in comments. We are excited because we at least get a chance to talk to and listen to one who wants to again be given a chance to lead this nation. But we do have some questions, and thanks to all of you all who voiced your opinions about what he should address. And I do believe that we'll hear some very powerful questions from the National Association of Black Journalists. And if you want to try to register for that convention, just go to NABJ.com. That's NABJ.com. And of course, you can also get that information on the onair.com, onairDailyNews.com. That's onairDailyNews.com. And we're looking forward to reporting for you what happens today as we listen to and watch this conversation with former President Donald Trump. So thank you so much. Thanks to my wonderful co-host. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll see you again next Wednesday. And join us again tomorrow for Veggie Brunch Live with Angela. Thank you so much, Brother Kareem. Always,
you're welcome.
Us wisdom and knowledge we can chew on. And until tomorrow, everybody. Wa alaikum salam. Continue to shine your light.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, zhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.